Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So I'm just going to start this video admiring this aquarium. Check out all these fish, all the activity in here. I really like the variety of fish. I mean, what this tank is stocked with as it is I think would make a great community aquarium. Check out these pandagaras over here. There's one on the left on the glass, one on the underbarrel filter tube, one just went from the back glass to the side glass. This one on the rock right here. This one on the right side glass. There's a Harlequin Rasbor. Tequila Sunrise Guppy just came in front. Pandagara's on the back there. I have 4 of these male lime green endlers. Up in the back there, where did it go? Oh, it's in the front. There's what I believe is an endler, just has like a red stripe sort of on it, kind of. There's a white yin yang guppy. PetSmart sells black and white guppies. They call yin yang guppies because it's, that means like a contrast. I just have a white one. A couple platies. There's a female, whatever kind of color pattern you want to call that. It's like a red rear body. Like I think I've heard it called like a coral something or other. It's a red one, kind of like that one has must have like mixed genes. It has kind of like a red wag and a Mickey Mouse. It just went behind that aquarium lily leaf. And I have, let's look at some pandagaras scurrying around. Ooh, set a little congregation on the rock here. There's 8 pandacories. Six black neon tetras. And 5 female guppies. Kind of like juvenile-ish. 2. That's probably the biggest and oldest one right there. But yeah, I think that's a... Oh yeah, and there's some Siamese algae eaters in here too. One there, one there. There's a third one in here somewhere. But of all these fish, they're good community fish, with maybe the exception of the Siamese algae eaters. When they get bigger and they get older, they can get kind of rowdy, I guess. I haven't experienced that yet. These have a ways to go before they become full grown. Even the pandagaras, I haven't, these are new here. I guess they're going to grow some more, but they can be kind of boisterous, but they're okay. I kind of see them as like how my cats play when they can be kind of rough. They're not a threat to each other, they're not going to hurt each other, but they can be kind of rambunctious. Yeah, okay, so though this tank would appear as a community tank, and that's pretty much what it's going to end up as, but it is serving as a quarantine tank. So I'm going to talk about my method for my quarantine process. Like I do it kind of in a way that it's unconventional and practical at the same time. You know, there's plenty of videos out there that are how-to videos, how to set up a quarantine tank or what you do. You know, what you don't really, none of them are going to really do is like set it up like a, you know, a regular community tank. I mean, there's gravel in here, plants, rocks, driftwood. Because one of the things that I do and am going to do, what I have been doing is, it'll serve as a quarantine tank, but then it will transition into a regular tank. This is my 9th aquarium overall, and I believe I think every time I expand the amount of tanks that I have, I think 7 of my 9 tanks have served as quarantine tanks. Because I just, it's, multi-tank syndrome. I keep getting ideas and new things that I want to do, and then adding more fish, and then once fish are, what I do is, before I move fish from one tank to another, I will treat them with these medications right here. These are the Aquarium Co-op recommended quarantine trio. Aquarium hobbyists, that are familiar with, fish videos on YouTube may be familiar with these. It's pretty commonly known, and I've bought into it and I believe in it, and I've been using these medications. So the way I do it, and it's similar to what I did with my mutt guppy tank. Early on, probably when I first started this YouTube channel, I still have it. I have a 10-gallon tank with a bunch of mutt guppies in it, and I kept adding more fish to it, and it was serving as a quarantine tank because I wanted to treat them with medications all at the same time. I do that before introducing them to separate tanks. In this group, I'm treating them all together. If there was any fish that was sick in this tank, I would treat it, and then, if it was caught early on, I'd be able to treat it with the medications. But I wouldn't add any of these fish without treating them with these medications to any of my other tanks. So I'm going to treat them while they're in here before I move some, because the plan is to move these Pandagaras to my 30-gallon planted live bear community tank. The Pandacories are actually going to stay in here. This will be their permanent home. These 2 male guppies, the Tequila Sunrise and the white one, are going to move to my 30-gallon as well. I think I'm going to move those platies to that mutt guppy tank I just spoke of. That lone Rasbora is going to go in my 30-gallon tank. A couple of the Siamese algae eaters are going to go in that 30-gallon tank, and then I'm going to leave the black neon tetras behind, and most of the endlers. I'm going to move one of the endlers to my 3.5-gallon Neocaridina shrimp tank. It's got some females waiting for them in there. And the rest I'll just leave in here for now. And, after I remove all the others, those will be the ones that'll stay behind. So, as I was saying, probably a better way to do it would be to, every time you get new fish, have us, separate them and treat them with medications before, introduce them to other fish. But since this is a quarantine tank and I don't have, enough tanks that I can do each type of fish that I got individually, I just put them all in here together. But like, one other thing about quarantine, the purpose of quarantining is to keep them isolated before moving, putting them together with other fish. So they are not, it's kind of contradicting, but there's all different kinds of fish in here, but they're, being isolated before going to other tanks, but isolating them together. And part of quarantining is observation. So not just, the medications, but observing them. And all these fish look nice and healthy. I've had where are they? The platies. There's the male back there. I've had them for 3 months. They were some of the first fish that I got. The platies and a couple of the lime green endlers. So I got 2 of those, 2 lime green endlers in the first group of fish. And then a month later, which is now 2 months ago, is when I got these 2 male guppies and 2 more lime green endlers and the 8 panda cories. And then 2 weeks ago is when I got the pandagaras and a few more of the female guppies, and I actually took 3 more female guppies from this tank, which was serving as a quarantine tank, and this going forward is likely to be a regular quarantine tank. But now I need to figure out probably set up another tank to figure something else out to put these guppies in, because I ended up, this as a quarantine tank, I got some common guppies and then they just have had a bunch of babies. But this tank up here, this is the Ocho, my 8th tank, which was going to be a quarantine tank, but then I ended up getting some of these guppies, and I didn't want to have them in here in quarantine because I didn't want them to mix with the common guppies. So I pretty much have like dual quarantine tank action happening here. But this is more of a conventional quarantine tank where it's like, minimal. It's bare bottom, just a sponge filter in there. I may have that rock just for the purpose of surface area, lava rock for beneficial bacteria, ammonia-eating bacteria to colonize on. And this tank, I'm finished with the quarantine period here, so I am ready to move some fish. Like this blue platy is going to move to my 30-gallon planted library community tank, as well as the autocinkless. But yeah, so I'm going to now add these medications. So, like I said, this is the recommended quarantine medications, and whether it's completely necessary to use these, perhaps not. As I mentioned, I have had these fish in this as some of them in here as much as 3 months, and some others as little as 2 weeks. But I mean, all the fish in here look completely healthy. Of all the fish I added to this tank, only one has died. That was one of the 3. There's 1, 2. I just went back there somewhere. Oh yeah, 1, 2. One of the Siamese alligators. I bought 4. I now have 3. But when I initially got them, one was kind of skinny and sickly, and that died within a few days after I got it. But everything else, all the other fish look great. Even without any medications or anything, one of the 4, the first 2 lime green endlers I got were, fine and healthy. And then the second 2, one was kind of not looking too good, but now it does look good. But so adding these medications is kind of, I guess you can kind of think of it as, for quarantine purposes, kind of like if we were to get a flu shot. It's kind of like in a sense, like preventative maintenance for health-wise. So erythromycin, this is specialized in bacterial fish disease, and it does list a diagnostic chart on the back, like all these like funguses and things like that. Basically, what I understand about this is, if fish have any like wounds, or common thing might be like their fins could be torn, they'd be susceptible to bacterial infections, and this is a good medication for that. General cure is mostly treats parasitic fish diseases, so this is a good medication to use as a dewormer, because basically most of these, well, these 2 here anyway, is gill and skin flukes and hole in the head. I have not experienced either of these, and if that's because I've been using General Cure, perhaps that is why. But these are more common, where I have had fish with that were bloated with a swollen abdomen, and it's just listed as wasting disease, but where they kind of look malnourished, but that's caused by internal parasites like worms. And the diagnostic chart on the back here, fish parasites transmitted from fish to fish cause emaciation, anemia, and lethargy, and swollen abdomen, fish infected with tapeworm. So basically this is like a dewormer, which is a pretty common with tropical fish. And Ick-X, this is a ick treatment. Ick is a very common fish disease, or that's where fish fish that have ick would have white spots all over them, kind of like as if you sprinkled like bigger grains of salt all over them. And I have experienced ick before, and using Ick-X has worked. And when I did have experienced ick before is when my first couple times quarantining fish, I used, instead of Ick-X, I used Cordon Prevent Ick, which didn't exactly prevent ick. I mean, this might be something where it might help, but it didn't Basically, it didn't work, but I think, it's kind of like, I would view this as if, kind of like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. If we like eat healthy, like this is something that would help there, but if you were exposed to somebody that's sick, you're still going to get sick. It might, you might strengthen an immune system, but depends on your exposure. But this will actually kill ick, and it has worked for me, like I said. And it'll also work to prevent or kill other diseases. Which ones they are, I don't even know, but it's not exclusive to ick. So what I do now is I just do 1 dose of each. So these API packets of erythromycin general cure, they come in packets. So like 1 packet treats 10 gallons. So this is a 10-gallon aquarium. And they do have instructions on the back. So this one, for best results, for best results, remove activated carbon or filter cartridge. I don't have carbon in this tank, and most of my tanks I don't. Carbon will strip the medication from the water. And I don't use it even when I'm not quarantining because it can strip fertilizers. I use fertilizer for my plants. But this one, instructions would be for each 10-gallon, empty 1 packet into the aquarium. Repeat dose after 24 hours. Then wait 24 hours, change 25% of the water. Repeat treatment a second time. So essentially that's like a total of 4 doses, 4 packets. That's what I would do if I observed and noticed anything that required that treatment. Otherwise, I would just use 1 packet 1 time. Initially, the first fish I got, I did do it that way, where I ended up using 4 packets. But I have learned that because this is more of a preventative, precautionary measure, I only use 1 packet. If I do notice anything that would require more, I will do so. I did one time, one of my quarantine stints, I had some neon tetras that after using the medication and I was ready to move, like some of the fish, I left neon tetras behind for additional treatment. And I did have, one time I had a guppy in another tank that had some what appeared to be mouth fungus, and I moved him into that tank and did the treatment with the neon tetras, and that seemed to clear it up, and the guppy with the mouth fungus recovered, and the neon tetras were, brought to good health. And this general cure is similar to that, but it's only 2 packets would be a full dose. So 1 packet, repeat dose after 48 hours, and then another 8 hours, do a 25% water change. So when I did it before, I did use 2 packets of these and 4 of these, and I aligned it so that I did that quarter 25% water change. And ICX is like a 4 dose treatment every 24 hours, and then change, if I can, well, somewhere in here it says change 1/3 of the water between doses. I believe if I can get it to focus with like bad lighting here, just to, okay. So right, number 3, make at least 1/3 water change before each addition of ICX. So if I can, to summarize, beginning with a third of a water change. I did actually do like a 40% water change earlier before I'm about to add these. Then it would be add a dose for 10 gallons. It'd be, well, basically what I'm going to do is it's like 10 milligrams or whatever it is, milliliters. It's enough for, like, this is my water conditioner cap, so that's a dose for 10 gallons. And it would be